Hello, BookTube. We're continuing with my library tour. Not my whole library, not all the books I currently own, but the books in my little book room, my little sanctum sanctorum, where I spend so much time, where I have so much fun, simply laying back on piled up pillows on the bed, reading and writing as God intended. So we are down to the bottom two shelves of this bookcase, so I am sitting on the floor. With no clear exit plan for how to get back up. So we'll do the Transwise books first, and then we'll get on to the books on the shelf. First one is this big Oxford paperback, Byron, A Self-Portrait in His Own Words, by Peter Quennell, who we've seen on this channel before. This is, in many ways, the greatest Byron book ever written, because it's all him. It's all drawn from his journals, his letters, his recorded comments, even some verse, to give you the closest thing that Peter Quennell can come to the autobiography that Byron wrote and that his publisher destroyed. And I love it. I need another copy of this because this is falling apart. I come back to this book all the time, especially when I'm consulting some work of actual Byron biography. Then we have this trade paperback. This is from Del Rey, of King Arthur and The Acts of King Arthur and His Noble Knights by John Steinbeck, with Darrell K. Sweet cover there of King Arthur and Merlin and whatnot. Very clearly designed to market this to the fantasy market. This looks exactly like the trade paperbacks that were done of Stephen Donaldson, for instance. Once upon a time, there were trade paperbacks of the first three books in his Thomas Covenant series, and they looked a lot like this. And I don't know that I agree with that marketing strategy, but I love this design. So I have this version of this book and no other. And this is the book that gin swilling 10-pack-a-day tobacco addict, crusty old man, which John Steinbeck was from when he was 25, always want to write. I got this Arthur thing kicking around in the back. I might write it. I might not someday. They all have that. And they have forever. I don't actually know. I have never actually fully analyzed the dude bro appeal of this particular story for a particular author. But it has been true since well before John Milton, who had this desire. And some of them actually end up writing these books. A lot of them don't. Most of them don't. But some of them do. I guarantee you, I don't know this, I've never read it in a biography or an interview, but I guarantee you that John O'Hara, the famous New Yorker short story writer, dreamt of writing an Arthur book. I guarantee you that he did. Maybe even did write it, and it just burned it or whatever. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that the whole world is waiting for the king to return, and the king is, of course, a man. I don't know. I have no idea. But the story is terrific. The stories that were codified by Mallory are terrific. And Steinbeck's book is terrific. It really is. It deserves to be one of his better known books, and it isn't. No one reads this by Steinbeck. But maybe that has to do with the fact that in its own extremely elephantine way, it's funny. And people don't want that. Dude bro authors don't want that at all. Not at all. Not in the slightest. You can make 1,000-page tilt-paneled puzzle book out of a nothing plot and horrible, tortured prose, but you better not signal that you're enjoying it, because enjoyment is feminine. And so maybe that's why this just goes by the wayside while the dude bros admire all the rest of his stuff. But I like this a lot. It's aside from a couple of Penguin Classics, it's the only Steinbeck that's in this room. Because it's the only Steinbeck that I routinely go back to. Unfortunately, I routinely go back to it in this paperback, which is not made for that kind of use. So I really do need to find another version of it. Okay. Well, then there's a self-published book. This is published by M.J. Pearson. It's called Helpless. That is the cover. It's very gothic, Victorian, gay adventure story. No scene exactly like this happens in the book. But it's still good. It's still good. I still found it enjoyable. It certainly earned its place in this room. Okay, those are the Transwise books, and then we'll move on to the books on the shelf. So we have Winter's Tale by Mark Halperin. His great big novel. He's done a lot of really good books. He's done a lot of really good novels. But nothing, I don't think there was any doubt in anybody's mind except maybe his that this was going to be his immortal work. And nothing has happened that would change that. So this is incredible. It's an absolutely incredible book. I first read this in a mass market paperback that had that cover. There is the giant white horse that appears throughout the book. There are the snowy streets of a bygone Manhattan. I first read this as a mass market with this cover. And loved it. Fell in love with it then. I wasn't in a position then to recommend it to many people, but I fell in love with it. And just waited patiently to find the hardcover with this cover. There is a trade paperback of this book with a beautiful blue-tinted black and white picture of Penn Station, but it's just not the same. When you fall in love with a book in this particular way, this is the way you want it. In fact, if I found that old blue and white mass market paperback of this, I would grab it, even though I know it wouldn't stand up. Winter's Tale is difficult to describe. It's difficult to synopsize. It's part fantasy, it's part dream, it's part history, it's suffused with love. I cannot recommend it strongly enough, but I don't have any idea how to describe it to people. All right. Then we have Zach Davidson. This is his book, Yurei, the Japanese ghost, and there Yurei is appearing on the cover like a ghost there. This is an illustrated history of particular kinds of hot midsummer ghosts in Japanese folklore, the type that haunt houses, the type that crawl up out of wells, the type that were made visually famous in America by some Japanese horror movies that crossed over. So the horror image of a pasty-faced, obviously dead young woman with long tangled black hair hanging in her face, that was for a while famous in U.S. cinema. And it's iconic in Japanese folklore. And this book takes you through a lot of those famous stories, including the author's own story of how he thought his house was haunted. This came out, when did this come out? 2015. And I don't exactly remember anymore the origin of how I got a chance to review this. I reviewed this for The National, and I don't know if I suggested it. I'm pretty sure I did, because my editor at the time was really flexible, a really great guy, but a timid reader, as I found so many readers are. He was a very limited, timid reader. I mean, I'm not even using that as a term of insult. When you sleep half of your waking life, you have to be timid, or you're not going to, or you're going to spend all your reading time just worrying about what you're not getting to. So I guess I understand it. I must have been the one who suggested this, but I had a great time reviewing it. And again, if I can find that review, I will post it down below. That's true for all of these things. There's virtually no shelf in this room that doesn't have at least one book on it that I've reviewed. But that old phrase, the internet is forever, somehow does not apply to me. So although some of you have found older pieces of mine, so maybe it does. Okay, then we have this, I think, came out before we were talking to each other. 2018. This is Bruce Schneier. This is Click Here to Kill Everybody. And it's about the Internet of Things and the absolute ubiquity of online life, and it is already outdated. I mean, all of the issues that are addressed in here, especially in the second half of the book, are infinitely more complicated now. It's a great book to read about what the internet has done to all of our lives, about internet culture, to use a phrase I don't particularly like. Even though it's comparatively recent, it had to come in here. All right. Then we have the Journals of John Cheever. So this is the takeoff of the design of the famous hardcover of the short stories of John Cheever, which came out in a big hardcover with the big C on the cover, only that cover was red. This is white. It's the Journals of John Cheever. It's actually really, really good. This is really, really good reading. He was brutal on himself in his journals, which I think, if you don't know anything about John Cheever and you just read a couple of the short stories in that big iconic red collection, I think from the short stories you would be able to gather that he would be brutal on himself, because he's brutal on his characters as well. But this is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Again, the usual refrain. I don't know what we're going to do for collected journals of authors now. That's why these two things really do kind of go together, because they one signals the end of the other's world. All right, okay. Then we have this big thing. This is the Skeptics Annotated Bible. In the faux leather that's meant to imitate the family Bible, and this goes through the Bible verse by verse with running marginalia. It's got the onion skin paper and the leather and the cloth bookmark, and it's all meant to look like a family Bible, but the running commentary in the margins is textual contradictions, textual abnormalities, textual moral travesties and enormities of one kind or another. This is someone reading the Bible, but not with any reverence. This is just a text. In fact, this is worse than just a text. It's a gigantic mishmash of texts that were written and codified, rewritten, and edited over the course of centuries, all lumped into one book that now 70% of adult Americans think is one cohesive thing that was written by the hand of a supernatural being. When a book that was written in one cohesive, inspired unit by the hand of a supernatural being would be at the very least consistent. And this is a nightmare of that. It's a lot of fun to read. It's really something that you just ponder. I don't think I've ever read it front to back. I don't know that you would. You would just, if something from Deuteronomy or Kings or Thessalonians or whatever came up, you would go to that section in your Skeptics Annotated Bible and look at that. Okay, then we have another newish book. So a lot of these will have pub sheets in them, so we'll be able to tell when they came out. I could look for the publication date as well. This was 2019. This is by Michael Benton, and this is Dinosaurs Rediscovered. One of the many dinosaurs in the books in this room. A couple of dinosaur books aren't in this room because I haven't been able to find copies. There was a big wonderful dinosaur book called Dinosauria that I had once upon a time, and then I had the trade paperback once upon a time. Haven't been able to find a copy of that, and I gave mine away, so that's not in here. But this was really good. This is just the usual type thing. What does science tell us about dinosaurs that maybe it didn't tell us about dinosaurs 30 years ago? Books like this are always 10 years late when they get to the market. They're still interesting to read because I'm not reading the cutting edge articles. They're all paywalled. Then we have Steve Brissett. These are this is his The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs, which I reviewed. I'm pretty sure that I reviewed Dinosaurs Rediscovered. I reviewed Uray. I reviewed Click Here to Kill Everybody. I definitely reviewed this and its sequel. I have a whole bunch of clippings in here, and I don't know if one of them might be mine. Probably not. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. This is just a fun, very light, very accessible story of the rise and fall of the dinosaurs, from the earliest archaeological evidence that we have, paleological evidence we have, to the end, to the Chicxulub crater and the Y2K boundary. And then we have, in addition to that, we have his follow-up, The Rise and Reign of the Mammals. So these are very much meant to look like companion pieces. They're very much meant to look the same on the shelf. And I reviewed this as well. When did this come out? 2022. Problem is, if you review for a print journal and they don't send you a copy, well, if you don't subscribe to the journal, then you're never going to see a print version of your own review to stick into your book. So a lot of these books that I reviewed, there are print reviews out there of mine, but they're not in the book because I never bothered to do it. Once in a while at various journals, I have had an editor who was really nice and really conscientious and made a mental note to call down to circulation and get copies of the journal sent out to all the contributors. in addition to pay, I want a copy of this sent to you so that you will have a copy of it. That's very rare. I don't think that happens anymore. So I got both of these. Of course, they came in this room. Right, then we have... this book was a recent source of a little bit of a problem for me, but that's all behind the scenes. This is Books of the Century, which had an obnoxious sticker on it, and I just put my own on there instead. And this is a century of book reviews in the New York Times, just right up my alley. Maybe not of interest to anybody or many other people, but right up my alley. Watching how these things change over time and watching how individual voices are there or not there, reading it straight through, encountering good reviews and bad reviews in every decade over a century really helps you to clarify what you mean by a good review and a bad review. I go back to this thing all the time. And as I recently discovered, when I go back to it, I compulsively annotate it. Even when I know I shouldn't. I still do. Because I am, to put it mildly, I am in conversation with these old people, with these old reviewers. Some of them direct conversations, because when you get towards the end of the book, you get to people that I knew. But all of them, in terms of what they're doing. Okay, well, you're making this sound like high art from the top of Mount Helicon, but I know exactly, even if you're in the 1930s, I know exactly how this happened. You're not fooling anyone, Cupcake. An editor came to you and offered you $50. That's all there is. It's not some tortured hire calling. And when you say, I have absorbed, I've lived with this book, well, I've known a lot of book reviewers, and I'm pretty much the only one who does that. All the others who say that means I read chapter 1. And the rest of it, there just wasn't time, what with the drinking and the womanizing. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a tough sell. I don't actually try to recommend it to other people. It feels like a book that was made just for me, and those of you who have books like that in your own life will know they have a special uncritical place in your heart. Okay, then we have this thing. This is an older book by Henry Hart. This is Venetian Adventurer, an older book about Marco Polo that has black and white illustrations, period maps, all kinds of stuff in here, including location shots from Marco Polo's various adventures. I'm a big fan of Marco Polo, big fan of his book, and I will take older works like this about him endlessly. I even like modern works about him, like Berggreen's book, even though they're largely flat. I'm a sucker for reading about him. There are a couple of Marco Polo books out there from around the time when this came out. The Venetian Adventurer came out in the early part of the 20th century. Yes? Is that right? You came out in the early part of the 20th century. 1942. There are a couple of books from the 1930s on Marco Polo that I would really like to get, but I'm not going to pay for them. I'm not going to pay more than $1 for them. All right, and then we'll finish up with this. This is another Boston history. This is Boston architecture. This is Built in Boston by Douglas Shantucci. And I'm going to break my own heart here by looking at his author photo because he's going to be a young man. He's going to be, oh my God, he's a baby. He's a baby. Oh, okay. All right. Well, Douglas Shantucci was an institution for a long time. He wrote this. He wrote so many books, and they were so good. They're all so good. I had the honor of being his last editor, and it was hair-raising. It was harrowing, but it was also wonderful. So when I find a copy of any of his older books, I get them. They're all really, really good. They are, as Douglas would have said, imbricated. They are. He was a fan of an intentionally Baroque prose line, and it got more Baroque the older he got. And he got mighty old. so you just have to be okay with that, or really just go your own way, because he's not going to change. It looks like it's needlessly Byzantine complicated, but it isn't. As he always said, it may be complicated, but it scans. And he was right. I believe he was the last exponent of his kind of prose. So, anyway, I'm very glad to have that book. I always keep an eye out for others. But that is this shelf. And I am numb all the way to here. So I have no idea how I'm going to get up. But I have to get up because you all want 5 videos a day, don't you? Or more. Anyway, that's a video for another time. That's a scolding for another time. But I'll wrap this up for now, and somehow I will see you later. Thank you, BookTube.